All right, this is Broken Warrior Designs round 2. Broken Warrior Designs plus a cold one. It's a cold one.
Ding.
Yeah.
Pink, pink, pink.
Hey, so talk a little bit about your Army history, your military service. We'll put it that way. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
for your service.
well, I appreciate that,
Thank you,
and
brother.
I definitely make a separation, and the only reason why I do it is because I know why you do what you do, and I also have been around to know some of the things that you've been struggling with, and so before we get really into that, let's just talk a little bit about your military service, your American service, your service to the country. Why enlist? Or, well, actually, I know you were an Army officer. Did
Right.
you enlist first, or did you go in as an officer? Or just break it down, your military career for us real quick.
I enlisted first. I took the ASVAB when I was in Samoa after my first year of college, and I scored the highest on the island. I was like, I gotta try this out because I wanted to go pre-medical,
Okay.
right? So
You were nose throat.
right. So I went enlisted as a ears, nose, throat
Ears, nose, throat,
specialist, and cross-trained as an operating room technician, right? And then as soon as I did that, we got called to Saudi Arabia for Desert Shield and Desert Storm. So I was about 19 then,
Yeah.
18, 19. And so that started it. Before I knew it, I had 10 years in. But when I came back from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, from the Persian Gulf War, that's when I went back to college and changed over to, took the ROTC
Yeah.
route.
Yeah.
And that's how I got commissioned. So I got commissioned, got married, and then that's when I head out to Oklahoma.
And harassed me and
Right.
Altus.
Yeah,
left to-
harassed you
left-
in Altus. Then
But
I came,
but then brought me down and showed me the great time you always showed me. You know what I'm saying?
right, so I've been in every component of the military, from the Reserve, National Guard, and active duty. And then I ended up going active duty National Guard because I served on the Counter Drug Task Force, and that was for the state of California. So that's how I finished out 21 years. But by that time, I had come back from Afghanistan, another tour of 14 months in Afghanistan, and that was a really hard tour.
Yeah.
And shortly, about 6 months after that, 6-7 months after I came back, started experiencing when diagnosis PTSD.
Yeah.
What's funny is I lived with that PTSD for several years before I did anything about it,
Yeah.
and which most vets are doing,
Yeah.
especially if they're still serving. A lot of these issues started getting to me. It wasn't until after I retired that it really hit me, because now I went from in charge of 500 people, 500 soldiers, to an army of one, and nobody else but my wife, and she didn't take kindly to orders. So what do? You just you're kind of stuck, and you used, in the army nowadays, most soldiers, they're used to an op tempo that's just go,
Right.
go,
Right.
and there's just too many things to do to slow down. You got to multitask. You
Easy to
gotta
not think about things or have to
you don't have
process
to
things.
process it.
Right.
Yeah. You're taught not to process things until there's a time to process.
And then you're not taught how though. That's the thing.
Right.
Right. Like, so I mean, and
that was hard. Afghanistan was rough.
Yeah.
And then especially, it was good. I was carving this week because with all the stuff going down in Afghanistan, I really reflected on that.
So we had a little conversation here a couple nights ago, and it was the first time you even opened up about some of the experiences you had, and we don't have to get into detail right here, but it was the first time for me to hear you act, because you never really talked about them before.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you went into a little bit of detail, and then I went to bed that night going, damn, man, how do you process something like that?
Yeah.
And that's not a question for you. I'm just saying that was something to give me perspective on what
You said 14 months, yeah?
Yes.
That's a long time.
And Afghanistan was
Edmund, that's an armpit. I mean, we had 15,000 troops in country at that time. All the focus was on Iraq. It was like Wild Wild West.
What year? Not that it matters, but what year is this?
2004.
That was at the.
It's
That
kind
was
of
the
still
beginning
thick.
of it.
Kind of still.
Yeah, it was
thick and
starting to
everything.
brew over there.
Yeah, we were still intense. I was telling them we had snow on the ground for 5 months. We were at 7,000 foot altitude. It was cold. We weren't equipped. Our Humvees weren't up armored. We put sandbags down in case we hit these IEDs. You know, the threat of IEDs every single day. The rockets pull out. Yeah, that's
Every
just
step.
that. Yeah, that just became the norm. It was you get in all type of.
But you
engagement.
experienced, but that became the norm. But the
Yeah, that-
experience of the aftermath of that is
Being
not
able
normal.
to talk
It's
about
not
it
normal.
now is pretty.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah, I was in the hospital. You know, I got hospitalized for 8 weeks.
Oh, you actually-
for
did you-
combat vets. It was a PTSD,
Oh, wow.
PTSD program for combat vets. Yeah, why I distinguish that combat vets because they have one for sexual trauma, which is something that's huge right now in the military. Is the sexual trauma, but not just women, men too.
Yeah,
And we met them, but they have a little different focus on their healing process than we do. And when you're with similar like people who kind of been through the same stuff, you can heal faster. And it's not a total heal. I mean, they throw a lot of medications at you, and some of those medications mess me up, man. When I went to this program and I got out, they dropped me seven medications I was able to get off of. That was huge.
You say 8 weeks. It was at a in and out program, or you
as
just
a resident, you committed.
You're committed for
Yeah.
8 weeks.
Breathalyzers every day. Going through all your stuff. You can't even have Tylenol, Tums. You can't have anything.
Guilt.
They
No.
check on you 3 times a day, 3 times a night while you're sleeping to make sure nobody's killed themselves.
Being in a leadership position
Yeah.
at the moment, you were getting intel from the bottom up, is what you described, right? So as opposed to going in with a mission where everyone knows what their role is and you're going to go in there and do X, Y, and Z because it's all been pre-planned, you're getting your information from the bottom up, so you're reacting to live intelligence almost all the time.
Right. We're
So you
going
have to
out,
make-
collecting the evidence, driving. It's a bottom-up refinement of evidence, basically, of intel. I mean, so if there's a bad guy out there, you know, we pay people for information. Our SIGINTs, well, there's a lot of capabilities that we have that go out there and gather that information,
Right.
whether it's from people, just like the FBI or anyone else does. You know, who has surface-to-air missiles, who has IEDs, and you pay people for this information. And it could be their brother. They'll turn them in for the money. And then you start spreadsheeting and cataloging and putting the pen link analysis together, just who's who and who's connected to who and how they're getting the information. And you start getting a better picture, and it's getting refined. That picture's getting refined, and then we push that information up to higher.
And they create action plans based on that, or
No. They may provide guidance, like, yeah, this guy is someone we need to worry about. I would recommend you go plan an op and then tell me what you're going to do. And basically, that combatant commander on the ground is the one that comes up with the plan. So we work with. It changes. Every day was so fluid. So we might be focusing on one area, and then something pops off, like someone got kidnapped, or in one area. So we would go divert and do a mission there and try to find this person. Or Navy SEALs and group would have a high priority target, which they direct all assets to go work with them to support their mission. It just changed every day. But the one thing you didn't do was get complacent or just sit there.
right? Yeah.
So you're always hunting a bad guy, and half of the mission was to kill and capture, but the other half was to gain hearts and minds, which a lot of us
How
are
do you do
skeptical
both?
of.
It's changing all the
Yeah.
time. Is it up to one person though? Like you guys are all listening to one commander. Like, the plans are changing every day, and one guy's making.
Well, there's a
decisions?
very deliberate process for making the plans, and so it ultimately that one commander that's in charge of that task
But
force
they're
will have the
talking
decision.
about it.
Yeah, we'll have the decision, and you have broad guidance. Go, the broad guidance could be go kill or capture bad guys. Okay, so who
Right,
who
gotcha.
determines who's a bad guy,
Gotcha.
where at,
So you're making real time decisions. Like,
yeah,
real time.
yeah. A lot of times you're on your own, you know.
so how? I mean, so in trying to understand some of the things someone like you might deal with, how much is it fear out there, or I mean, what's the fear level? What is the fear level? Or are you not thinking about that?
I don't think anyone was fearful because we all already had the expectation. We already had the worst expectation.
So you're going out every day kind of like already expecting the worst.
Right. And you're working 16, 18-hour days. So you don't have a lot of time to be fearful. You get more of that anxiety, I think, or I guess just anxiety. I wouldn't say I was ever scared of any of them, but I sure had a lot of adrenaline flowing, right at times, most of the time.
And I've watched some videos on adrenaline. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't make me an expert for sure, but one of the things that I understood about adrenaline is it memorializes like events to a deeper degree. You know, so if something happened right now and there was no adrenaline pumping, we might forget it or we might remember it for a little while. But when something happens and your adrenaline is flowing, it sears that shit into your soul, basically. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so,
well, like every time that we had to engage, whether it was direct fire or indirect fire. You know the difference between the two, right? Mm-hmm. Indirect fire with dropping JDAMs. Blowing up IEDs, or actually engaging with your rifle and shooting somebody, every single time was one of those stuck points that you remember. And you know, we all went over there with this is a whole different culture. This is unique. They got some good food. You know, Alexander the Great, Himalayans, and as soon as our first American was killed, everyone was like, all bets off.
Right.
And that changes the game.
Right.
You know, you have to calm your soldiers down. Some of them just automatically start firing, letting out. You know, someone shoots one round from 500 yards away, and everyone.
So how many people were how many people were you responsible for?
Well, so we were a task force of 700, and I was the fire support officer for that task force.
So you had 700
well,
people under?
No, I wasn't in command. I was the fire support officer. So what I did was I was the coordinator of all the elements, the boss elements, the battlefield operating systems. So I have EOD, civil affairs.
So you coordinating plans, basically. You taking all the plans and kind of like making them work together?
So I had to synchronize plans, right? Now, I took over.
How old are you at this time, if you don't mind me asking?
No, good question.
I was a captain. How old was I?
What kind of responsibility?
Was I 35?
This kind of responsibility at 35 years old?
Maybe 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, you get that responsibility. In the Army, it's different. As soon as you're a second lieutenant, you have you have command. I mean, you're in charge of 100 people, roughly, right? So, whereas in the Air Force, they focus different. The Air Force would be, you have to become an 05 before you start commanding 3 to 5 people. You don't actually have command. You're more focused on the technical, like pilots, for example, right? But once they become that commander of that C5 they're flying, then they got a crew they got to worry about.
Right.
The Army is different. Marines is a little bit different.
You're basically hitting around with being responsible for a group of guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Similar to a head coach.
Yeah.
Similar to a head coach.
Yeah.
You basically coaching everybody up, getting everybody ready.
Yep.
And they come to you for
it's a lot of
guidance.
responsibility, man.
I mean, that's a lot of
that's a lot,
and it's a lot of
especially
shared
with bullets
responsibility.
falling over your head and bombs being. It's different.
Life
Head
and
coach
death.
don't got
Life
to
and
deal
death,
with
yeah.
that.
But,
you know.
But see, everyone in the Army doesn't matter. Everyone feels responsible for somebody.
Right.
Right. And that was a unique structure of enhancing that soldier. Even the E4 is responsible for all those E3s and E2s in one.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone shared a responsibility, and it was just more of, people working together. Now, at times when there's successions of command, when when one boss is not there, well, then it falls on the others, right? So there were at times where like I got put in charge of an operation where it's not typically my job, but you adapt because these guys are on leave and these guys are sick or these guys got hurt, and so you take over and you do stuff.
Well, we're talking about mental illness and the challenges that the soldiers out there are dealing with that I could never imagine. But I always wondered, what happens to those soldiers that do have they're battling their demons mentally. We're not talking about physical ailment, getting shot or getting injured. We're talking about they're having some issues upstairs, and they basically tell their commander, "I got to get out of here. I want out." How do they treat that soldier?
Can you even do that?
Actually, they're getting very good at recognizing the combat stress and that PTSD, and so the Army's getting very good about getting people help for that. Now, without just kicking them out of the Army, right? So they're actually trying to help them.
So what happens if if they're like, for example, I'm having a moment and I'm really not being able to compose myself and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I come to my commander and I say, I think I can't handle this anymore. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
How is that handled?
As a commander, I would take you offline, right? Take you out of your job, and then I would refer you to, one of our docs to give me a better evaluation. Like, I'm not going to sit there and
try to be doc to me.
Yeah, try to be doc to you. I mean, of course, I'm going to listen.
Right.
But if I think you have enough issue that you're not going to be 100% focused on your mission, no, I'm pulling you. And I've had to do that before too.
Right. So what?
That's got to be crazy though to have to witness. Because what's the youngest soul you're fucking referring to? Like, so what's the youngest?
18-year-old kid. Man, I had 18-year-old twins.
I knew you were gonna say 18.
18-year-old twins.
That's when they get them out there, man.
I remember those dudes. They're the poly dudes.
18, you ready to go?
Funny.
Oh, you tell me about that, man.
And today it's still an average. I think it's even higher now, but 22 vets a day committing suicide. There are more people committed suicide since we've come back from the war than actually died in the war. And it's because of that stuff that you see when that helicopter crash went down, for example, when we were putting together body parts and
that's when one of the things you were talking to me about, and you were kind of, giving me a little bit of the description of what it was like to have to recover that stuff.
I mean, if you ever lifted a dead body in a body bag and there's like several pieces to it, I mean, that stuff stays with you. Shooting somebody while, when you're really close and you're looking at them and they're looking at you, and then you see the hate in their eyes. And then you wonder, when you talked earlier about do people regret it, I think every soldier has some kind of guilt, whether guilt that I didn't kill enough of them or I should have shot when I didn't, or
should have done more.
I second guessed myself because
it's the most imperfect. It's the most. There's absolutely no way you can be.
You can't win.
It's like a no win.
There's no win in that situation. You always feel guilty.
Yeah, and you feel guilty
like
about leaving your family.
Right.
Oh, I left my family and I'm doing this. I feel guilty sometimes because maybe this nation doesn't support me.
Yeah.
Right,
that's a whole.
That's a whole different part. But I'll tell you, there's a difference between flying into Texas and flying into San Francisco just on patriotism, just on people, whether they're spitting at you or whether they're still doing it. And that's why our Vietnam guys have so many.
And that was you would have thought we would have learned.
I thought we were
Vietnam.
Especially after 9/11, everyone had their flags out, man. Everyone was like, hey. Because I was telling Dave the other night, I don't care who you are. When you face that bad guy, they look at that flag on your shoulder and they say, "You're an American. You're
dead.
You're the infidel. You're the one." It didn't matter if I was a black American, half Samoan American.
It's just this.
It was the flag.
I want to talk about the question you asked me, and do you remember what it was?
No. Because we had a lot of conversation.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm trying to put it back on you because I fucking forgot what the fuck I was about to say.
He ran out straight up.
Yeah, it was a great one too.
It was a great question.
I was telling myself, don't do this extra sentence because you're gonna forget what the fuck you was about to say, and I did. So, but let's do this, man, because I feel like first of all, you are going to be part of the Plus Code One Man for Certified platform, and that's something that we're going to work out. And we've already been talking about that from Florida. We're going to figure out how to do this. So we'll have plenty of time to dive into a lot of these topics and get more in depth as you feel comfortable. What I want to do right now is I want to get to the artwork, man.
Yeah.
I want to get to the artwork. So let's take a quick
Let me tell
break.
you-
Let's take a quick break and come back and let's talk about Broken Warrior Designs.
I got you.
And we'll get like into a little bit how it started, but what I really want to talk about is the artwork, the process, and it's something that I've always known. I mean, I call you like even back in the day. I didn't know what a Renaissance man was. You was you were a Renaissance man because sports,
Yeah.
dance.
I had to.
No, but I mean you did it though. Like
I had to.
cooking.
It's like a little embarrassment right
No,
there.
but yeah,
What are you worried
but
about, dog? It's all part of the culture.
No,
it
but
seems like.
this dude
Oh, you talking about our popping and stuff?
fearless. No, I'm talking about
Oh, the
On-
dance and
Polynesian
football
dance.
coach made us all take ballet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's
But no, that's what I'm saying though. Like so,
that's
you
a different
so it's
story.
As
like
long as you don't wear a tutu.
it's like big homie
I
before I knew,
misunderstood.
but I mean this is somebody that I've watched bust people up,
Yeah.
and then dance. We popped like we used to battle at the transfer point on what was that? We were the Kellogg transfer point was I forget what exactly what it was, and everyone get out battle. Battles were on and popping right there.
Yeah.
Jason never liked to be. Couldn't take an L. I don't know that you ever lost, but they just always seem to end up in scraps.
Yeah.
He used to kick up dust like that. That's when I knew the true meaning of kick up dust. This dude used to start fighting and his afro be doing this,
That's funny.
and then dust be flying up, and I'm like, oh, there go Jason. But popping, all that kind of stuff, sports, military, artists. It's a lot of stuff, man. Not to mention, run down some of the other occupations. Volunteer what?
Volunteer firefighter for 6 years. I taught high school for 5 years. Coached football. Coached soccer. Coached
That's what's
volleyball.
up, man.
Coached basketball.
Surfing?
Dedicated
Yeah,
motherfucker.
surfing forever.
like that.
Still
No,
surfing.
coach. What do you do with surfing? You do a
Oh,
annual-
yeah, we teach kids how to surf.
Yeah, seen it
every
on
summer.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool,
every
man.
summer.
That's
Awesome,
fun.
man.
That's something you.
Where do you
get
do that
kids.
at? What's the
Jetty
name?
Park. Jetty Park Surf Camp.
Jetty Park, sir?
Yeah, in Cape Canaveral.
Where's that? Cape Canaveral.
Yeah,
Where's that
right
located?
by Cocoa Beach, Florida area.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm thinking
every
over here in
summer we have a
Oh,
California.
camp.
yeah, this is
All right,
fun.
right on.
Yeah,
man.
always trying to stay active to do so, but I have to. I have
That's
to keep
good.
that mind going, or
Yeah.
because if you stop, you start thinking about stuff, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes that's not good.
No, yeah.
All the
Absolutely.
time.
But I
Yeah.
mean,
Keep
and,
that
and-
mind running.
and that's the
Yeah.
perfect segue because all that stuff, all those experiences, and I'm not talking about just one of them. I'm talking about the multitude of experience. Like I said, man, 182 job models. I mean, you do a lot of stuff, and all that stuff gets kind of funneled into this artwork.
How do you manage that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother
all about
conversation.
keeping
It's like,
busy.
how do you manage
Staying
that
busy.
schedule?
Staying
Yeah.
busy, man. Keep that mind going,
Yeah,
like
but
you
he's
said.
talking about
Yeah.
Florida. He's talking about San Diego.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, how do you go back and forth and manage all
And it
that?
feels good to come back once in a while.
All that.
And I just drive around and I'm looking at places. I'm like, oh man, I have so many good memories
Yeah.
there. Like that
Mhm.
park over there by our old crib in Brandywine.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Did
and
you
then I was
see
like,
the
oh,
soccer-
I
you
remember
see the
that
soccer
girl
court they
that
got-
I
you see
could-
the soccer court they got out there now? They
Oh,
got
the Brandywine right
yeah.
across the
Right.
street from the liquor store?
Yeah.
Brandywine
Liquor.
Yeah,
Liquor
across,
and Deli,
across
yeah.
the way. Yeah.
I remember those guys started, Mike and Tony.
Oh,
and
I go there all the time, man.
Dude,
I still go there all the
Steve.
time.
Triple
They got a-
OGs.
they got a-
Those guys are
I used
got
to
a-
stock over there.
They have a. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's cool. I go there. I order beer. Next door, they have a place. I can't remember what it is, but next door to that, they have a big Philly cheesesteak.
Now they got
Big
Yeah.
Philly.
Yeah.
They good?
I've heard that. I've heard their.
Fuck, dude. I don't even
Really?
want to.
I've been there.
They're off the damn chain.
I've
So,
been there
it's the best
a few
Philly I can
times.
get.
I've got
Plus Cohen. Plus Cohen on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wish I'd known.
Hey,
So
pre-pandemic, they were on fire. After the pandemic, and I think
Yeah,
it's
well,
everybody.
that did happen.
Everybody.
Now I just had one
everybody.
in Philly, and
Right.
that was the first time I had a real Philly cheesesteak.
So I've had. So
I
I
have
went.
something
I went to
compare it
work in
now.
Philly
Yeah.
for 7 days.
I don't-
I had 7 Phillies
I
from
make my
7
own
different places.
My own is.
in Philadelphia, and this is the best place that I've ever had.
Still, really?
I said that.
Wow.
I said that the first time
Absolutely.
I ate it, and it made me go to the laboratory and try to serious. And
Yeah.
You always got to go to the
That's
lab.
when you know it's good, man.
You can't.
Yeah.
Hey, you
I
can't.
got
This
it
dude
down.
can't taste.
I got it down pretty good, man. I'm telling you. If you were in Philly and I gave you one of my Phillies and you're in Philly, you would think it was from Philly. Because I've been in Philly. I've been to all of them. Geno's.
Really?
I've been to all of them. But
those are tourist joints.
But this spot over there, it made me go into the lab because I went the first time and was like, this is Philly. And then I went the second time or the third time, I was like, this is not good. And I knew what they didn't do right. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I got in there, and the secret to that, I don't want to rant about food right now because we got to go to the Tiki's. But the secret to that Philly, man, is a lot of places they don't. No, they don't get a real thin. When I say thin, we're talking put that meat in the freezer, that ribeye, and slice it to you can see through it. Okay, you got to be able to do that. And once you do that, get it down on that hot plate, the Blackstone or whatever. And then you got to get it shaved up some more, and that's how they do it over there.
And their bread, isn't it homemade?
Their bread is different. The bread is different. They talk about the water.
The bread makes the sandwich.
Well, they talk about the water. The water that makes the bread.
So
that's the.
You know what I did?
The water is different.
So their bread's really good over there at that place.
Yeah.
Their bread at the.
They get it from. It's called Big Philly.
So I called them up, and I'm like, I don't even want the sandwich. I want the bread.
Where you get your bread, bro?
And can I just come by there? I don't care. Just pay. I'll pay $5 for 2 loaves or whatever you guys want to charge me. No. You gotta buy a sandwich. So we went to Jersey.
Can I get a Philly cheesesteak with no cheesesteak?
No. Yeah. He said no because he knew what I was doing. He knew what I was up to.
Yeah.
He's on
cheese and steak.
That bread. The bread is the closest thing you're gonna get to a bread you get over there in Philly because it is like I said they ship that shit in.
Yeah, that. I have a lot of friends from Philly. They say the most important thing is the bread.
It is the bread,
and it has to do something with the water.
You do a cheese whiz?
Has to do something with the water.
I haven't never had it with cheese whiz.
That's terrible.
I heard that that's the way to do it.
Softer or harder?
It's softer. I think it's softer. Yeah.
See, I love cheese whiz.
It's not a Philly cheesesteak without the whiz.
Really?
You don't do whiz.
So
my buddy who lives in Philadelphia, I literally text him and I asked him, I go, how do you properly order a Philly cheesesteak sandwich? He goes, oh, you're in San Diego? I go, yeah. He goes, you never order a proper. There's no proper way to order a Philly in San Diego.
No, I was cracking the fuck
if you do, he goes in the north. If it's North Philly. They do it in provolone, or excuse me, provolone.
Yeah, you're right.
And then if they in South Philly, they do it in American.
Right. Okay.
There's no cheese whiz. Cheese whiz.
Philly?
Cheese whiz.
In Philly?
There is. Yeah, I'm talking straight from my buddy from Philly. Cheese whiz, cheese whiz is a tourist thing.
Nah, man.
Yes, it is.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I can
pull
up the tour. This is gonna be on the text message.
No way.
I'm gonna pull it up.
So
right
my
here.
buddy had told me. He said, "Don't go to one of those big tourist places." He said,
Geno's.
"Find a place that says
Gino, and there's a place
Geno's
right across the
He said,
street
"Find
there.
a place that's like a steakhouse pizza place."
Uh-huh.
And that's what I did.
That's
called.
It's called John's, man. There's a place called John's, Steve's.
It's kind of like
any dude's name has
And they had. I thought it was Philly cheese with Philly cheese. They got all types of Philly cheese sandwiches. They were barbecue.
They do.
You know,
Pizza.
But those,
I just had it straight, but man, it was good.
I want the most authentic.
It's like a California burrito. It's kind of like you crossing a little bit of lines right there. Like, don't get me wrong, I've eaten them.
I know,
but I'm not. But it's not. You know,
I don't like to put a lot of different stuff in my carne asada burrito. I like to keep it pretty basic.
But if
like
you,
just like a Philly. Why are you putting like shrimp
if
in
your
a Philly
first
cheesesteak?
time, if your first time telling somebody, hey, let's get a carne asada burrito, you're not gonna. Or just go get some taco shop food. You're not gonna tell them. Right.
You're not gonna put fries in it. You're not gonna go throw shrimp in there. You're not gonna put bell peppers. Like, what are you doing? You're killing my carne asada burrito.
Yeah, well, I wanted to know what right looks like. That's why when I stopped in Philly, I got that. I wanted.
I said the same thing.
Just order like
I went 7 different places in 7 days, man. I'm not
Did
even
you?
kidding. Yeah,
7 and 7.
I was there for 7 days for work. I got lunch at a cheesesteak place. I went 7 different places in 7 days.
Damn, I went to Philly and I did go crazy.
That was just for lunch. I ate other shit. Don't get me wrong, but that was just for lunch. I was working at the convention center. Across the street in Philadelphia, they have a I think it's called like the rail. They have a underground like a market. I'm sure I could Google it right now and we'll edit it in. There's like a market across the street from the convention center.
Yeah.
That you can go in there and it's like
Should lock you out?
you could say like food trucks.
Yeah,
like
you go
a
in there.
food truck type of deal, but it's not food trucks. It's just like little kiosks and
They're
stuff.
open.
Uh-huh.
And they'll have cheesesteaks, pizzas, everything right across
Yeah, I
the
know.
rail. It's
Looks official, don't it?
Railroad Mark something. It's gonna come up. We'll bring it up. but it's the bang. It's bang, and to me, it was 7 different spots, 7 days.
That's dope, man.
You know, I mean, when I was there, the cheesesteak was all about. That's what I was all about, was the cheesesteak.
Yeah, cheesesteak great, man.
Yeah.
I was in Delaware for a long time, man, and cheesesteaks were still good down here.
Yeah, but the thing about it also is we always call it a Philly cheesesteak.
Oh,
And
they
people
don't-
from
yeah,
Philly,
yeah,
they go, it's not a Philly cheesesteak.
It's a cheesesteak,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
wanna
we don't
call
put
it.
green peppers on a fucking Philly cheesesteak. you know?
Well, actually, they said they don't do that.
No, they don't do that.
Well, then maybe I have some things to learn about a
Plus
Philly cheesesteak.
Oh wait,
Just
they
check.
don't put
Let's
No,
go.
bell peppers or green
they don't.
peppers.
No.
Oh,
So
where did all the peppers and onions? I like the peppers and onions.
Onions. Authentic Philly cheesesteak. So you say like wit.
Cheese whip.
Well, that doesn't have to do with the cheese. That's got to do with the onions, I think.
You don't know what I'm talking about, man.
No, we're gonna talk about this. Watch. You want to bet?
Now we gotta have.
You want to bet?
Have to. Now we
you want to bet? I haven't even stopped the recording, but you want to bet?
Hold on. Wait, hey.
Yeah, what?
What about cheesesteaks?
That they don't put bell peppers on an.
I'm gonna put money. I'm gonna put money. We got this. We don't got the video, but
No.
we got the audio.
I got it.
I'm gonna put money on dream bell peppers.
No bell peppers on an authentic Philly cheesesteak.
Bell
None.
peppers.
Zero.
Bell peppers. Bell peppers.
They do? You think they do?
They don't want my money apparently.
They do? They do? Are you just fucking with me?
Yeah,
or no?
I'm with it. I'm with that.
There's a different way. You say I want it done the original way. There's no bell peppers on it.
No.
But
no,
you
no.
go to several different Philly cheesesteak places. They're gonna have bell peppers there to put
Oh
on it.
yeah.
That's just an
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree
But
with you.
when you
on that
say traditional cheesesteak,
Yes.
I'm thinking I live in San Diego and
No.
I'm gonna go all the way to Philly and
Yeah.
everything on the menu is traditional because it's
No.
a Philly cheesesteak in Philly.
In
and
Philly.
they have many different ways.
one. Uh-huh.
So that's as traditional as it gets.
Okay, I hear you.
That's all I'm getting.
Yeah, I hear you. But no. No, I'm just checking.